Sometimes you get the same piece of advice over and over and over, and you know you need to listen to it, but knowing and actually being able to do it are not the same thing. Welcome back to the Family First Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Heather Blake. So the other day, I was getting advice from a mentor of mine about how I need to stop acting, basically, and I need to be more personal in my YouTube videos. Now, I often talk about personal brands and how you need to interject your personality into them. And I know all this, right? And sometimes I will occasionally catch myself saying a line in a YouTube video and it comes out like it's a line, not like it's a conversation. And I catch myself and I try to go back and redo it so it sounds more conversational, because I don't want to act like I'm preaching to you or that I'm reading from a script, even though occasionally I have actual lines written out. Most of the time it's bullet pointed, but I do here and there write out sections of the script. And, I do have a background where I did theater. And so sometimes maybe I fall into a little bit of that, but a lot of it I think has to do more with the persona we believe we need to project, and our fears of being judged for who we are. Now, I will tell you, I am very comfortable in who I am, but at the same time, I think when we go to represent our businesses, we believe we need to project a specific image, right? And I think this is something that was taught to us by gurus and by influencers. You need to look and act a certain way. And I like to try to interject myself into them, but it's not always easy. And I think really it's going to take practice. And I believe that we all need to do this. So over a year ago on YouTube, I think it was actually at the end of 2024, I created this reel where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to edit it in because I don't remember what it was like. None of these are the first step to creating a business. Creating the perfect logo. Starting on passion alone and forgetting market research. Buying an expensive website? Let's face it, there are much better options these days. So you get the idea. I was completely acting, and that is a lot of my personality. I like to do things like that. And the other day when I was picking up my son's friends and my son from the gym, his friends got into the back seat and I am like, buckle up, buttercup. And my son was so embarrassed, like, oh, mom. And I was like, oh, it's things like that. It's things like that I need to put into my video. The things that, embarrass my kids are the things that I need to be doing in my videos. And easier said than done, right? I mean, we want to look professional. We want people to trust us, know, like, and trust us. We want them to buy a thing. We want them to, come to us when we need a specific service performed or when we need a specific product. So how does our personality play into that, right? That's kind of like we have this, I don't need to do this, I need to do this. Like, I don't need to say buckle up, buttercup although I just actually realized that might be a funny intro from now on. Hey, buckle up, buttercup, let's get into this kind of thing. But that, again, sounded like I was intentionally trying to do like a YouTube intro, right? The old style of almost like a news broadcast, but made for YouTube. And I totally forgot where I was going before this. But the idea is we want to be professional And we don't understand how being quirky or whatever our personality is fits into that. But this is the reality. In the world of AI, it matters now more than it ever did because AI can give them answers to things. It might not always be right, but it can give them answers. And so if all they're looking for is a coach, then they can go to AI and be like, act like a business coach and tell me what I need to do here. Act like a YouTube expert and tell me what I need to do here. And it may or might not help. But in this day and age, that's what people believe. They believe it will help. Whereas, I can help you find the clarity in your business and help make sure you have strong foundations to your business because I've been there. I've been doing that for 20 years. I've been my own. I had to figure it out on my own starting more than 25 years ago. And then I did it for myself again. And then I helped other people do it. And then I did it for myself again. And as I started businesses and I learned, I know more than ChatGPT because I've experienced it. Whereas the AI just sees the knowledge that's out there. I make really weird hand motions. Sorry. I talk with my hands. So AI just sees it out there and it's scanning, I almost said scamming, scanning the internet looking for information. But I don't need the information. I already have that information. I also have the experience, and that's something AI does not have. So, what does that have to do with our personality? Well, AI doesn't just not have, you can tell it to have a specific personality, but it doesn't just have the experience and the knowledge. It doesn't have the experience, only the knowledge, but it also doesn't have a true personality. It doesn't have that love for crime shows like Only Murders in the Building, or it's not a sports mom who is going through the same thing as you. That is what makes me and makes people want to be a part of, viewing or listening or learning from me because they can connect with me. I don't connect with ChatGPT. Actually, I told it a joke the other day and it was like, gave me all this information. And I was like, no. I asked you a question. You gave me a whole bunch of answers. And I told you, I don't need you to over explain. I already have a husband for that. And ChatGPT was like, oh, sorry, you're right. You could just go to your husband and he could help you with this. I'm like, no, that's not what I meant, ChatGPT. But I keep getting lost in my thoughts today. Ooh. Okay, I guess it's just helping me interject my personality. But, it's those things where we can connect with one another. But why, even when we know that, is it hard? Partially, we're afraid of being judged. We're afraid of someone not liking us. We are afraid that we might do something to offend somebody. We are afraid that we might alienate somebody because we said something and they didn't agree with it. But as I say a lot in branding, and when you're telling people who you are for, you're also telling people, I'm not for you. And that's a good thing. Right? And we don't need to have everyone love us. We don't have to have, the millions of people like us. We just need our people to like us. And we need to like ourselves. Throw that in there. We need to just get over it in a way. And we just need to accept that only a specific number of people are going to end up liking us when they see us. And that's okay. So we need to get over the fears of being judged, the fears of not being for everybody. Fear is natural. Fear is what our caveman former selves tell us we need to have. We need to keep ourselves safe. We need to be afraid to keep ourselves safe. But we don't need to be we don't need to listen to our fears. We can choose which fears to listen to and which ones not to. Like, I am afraid of walking straight off a cliff. That makes sense. I shouldn't choose to deny that fear, or is that the way I want to say? To ignore that fear. I will not walk off a cliff. I will listen to that fear, because logically, if I am to walk off a cliff, I most likely do not have the ability to fly and I will fall to my death. However, if my fears are telling me don't make a YouTube video or don't get on a podcast and say something weird because someone might not like you, I don't have to listen to that fear. And once I decide not to listen to that fear, then I have the hard work, we'll say, of getting there. Like, of actually being myself. Putting myself out in business as I am. That doesn't mean like sharing my whole life. That just means showing the bits and pieces of my personality that make me different. Like I said, love crime documentaries, real life crime. I love shows like Only Murders in the Building. I'm also a sports mom. My son, so I started working in professional baseball when I was 17 and left. I was off and on, and I did work for the New England Patriots as security for a while. But I was off and on and left baseball when my son was just a few years old. He is now 16. And I love sports. I love that I get to go to my son's sports games. I love that my daughter, my oldest daughter, is going to be going out for volleyball next year. I love volleyball. I wish we had a volleyball team when I was in high school. I might have actually played a sport then. I am a drama nerd. I love dancing. I love singing. I love being weird. I have ADHD. Like all these things about me, I can show those things. And when you do that, it's a weight lifted in a way, because you're not trying to dull yourself down or be so specific that, it's empowering. The challenge is actually doing it. So you acknowledge it. You choose to ignore the fear and say, fear, don't worry, this one's not going to hurt me. I can be safe still. And you get to do these things, but it takes time. Like I said at the beginning, I sometimes will be reading a line and it sounds like I am performing. And I catch myself and I go back and I redo the line. But I didn't realize that the 4 lines before that, I also was performing. So I only redid that 1 line. I think part of it too is I love teaching. And when you're teaching, you're trying to be specific on your information. So depending on what kind of business you have, depends on how this might come through for you. It might be just trying to be like everyone else on Instagram Reels, or trying to teach people on YouTube videos where you feel like you have to be a certain way. Like when I'm teaching, I think that's part of it. Like when I do like a teaching video or an instructional video for a lesson, I think I feel like I need to be a teacher and I need to be perfect. Not that I believe anyone is perfect or I am perfect, but I believe I take some of my personality out of there because I am trying to give you the correct information in the correct order, in the correct way, without all the extra. But like I said, this shows up for me in teaching. This shows up in my videos. This shows up when I make short form content, trying to be like what the algorithm wants me to be like, and not necessarily being me. Even when I feel like I'm putting me into it, I rarely ever feel like my short form content is completely me. So that is something that I've been working on for years. It doesn't come easy. But I wanted to have this talk about this because it came up, and because I think it's a conversation that we all need to have with ourselves. One of the things that I love about the podcast is I'm able to talk about something which can then click in your head and be like, oh, yeah, I'm doing this too. I didn't realize it, but you're right, I'm doing this too. Or you might be like, oh, yeah, I overcame that. I overcame that. I remember when I was there just a few months ago. Or, wow, I knew I did this. I knew that I did this. I knew that I did this. I knew that this was a problem for me. I acknowledged it. I chose to change it. And then I got on with things and everything got busy and I forgot. And I was no longer intentionally trying to be more me, be more personality driven, more charismatic, whatever it is that's you. Because I got lost in the technical, in the teaching, in the algorithm. I was trying to concentrate on all of that. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you today. It's important for us to recognize these things, but it's also important for us to recognize that it's not easy. You know, I wish there was this magic mist. We've been watching Percy Jackson and the Olympians, I believe, at dinner time with the family some nights. And there's the mist that holds everyone so they don't see the monsters and the mythical creatures like the Cyclops or things like that. They don't see the magic because the mist keeps them. Okay, so in the movie, it's like an actual spray, but in the TV series, it's just like a mist that's out there in the air. But they don't see what's going on. They don't see the reality. And I feel like that is an awesome metaphor for what we are talking about here. Right? We don't necessarily see, or we think we know what's going on, but in all reality, it's different. So we believe that we see everybody as who they truly are. We believe that we are truly who we are. But the mist is clouding us. So that guy over there that's a Cyclops, we don't see him as a Cyclops. The mist allows us to see him with two eyes. The mist is allowing us to think that we are being who we are. But in reality, we've toned ourselves way down. Yes, I still want you to be your version of professional. Because depending on who you are, depends on what that is. But I also want you to recognize and take little steps every day or every week, however you want to look at it. You know, it's like be 1% better. That's what they say, 1% better every week. Every video, every social media post, just try to get 1% better. So I want you to get 1% better about bringing out your personality. Because it's not easy. It really isn't. Even when you think you're doing it, you probably aren't quite there. You're still dulling yourself down. So, as I like to say, your homework for this week is to interject you into everything that you do. It should be a part of your brand. Your personality should be a part of your brand. Whether it's a personal brand or a business brand, it should be a part of your brand. And every week, just try to add 1% more of who you are into that. Make sure it shines through in your business. Whether it be in your videos or your social media posts or how you write something or the images that you share on that PDF that you're using. Or maybe if you're a crafter, it's the type of items that you make. If you make candles, it's the silly labels or the gothic style labels that are on it. Maybe you're your own Wednesday Addams. Make your labels on your candles, give them names that go along with that. Maybe you're a flower child crocheting. Let that shine through. Maybe you're a tech geek who likes to, woodwork. Let that shine through. Who you are needs to be seen. Because there are lots of people on YouTube. There's lots of people in business. There's lots of people on Instagram and social media. But there's only one you. You are the true commodity. And as I'm saying this, I know this. Obviously, I know this. But did I really listen to it? Was I clouded by the mist? So please, homework, 1% every week. More you. Let the you shine through. Da, 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 da. Let the you shine through. I don't know, it just felt like it should be a song. And I'm sorry, I wore my glasses that have glare on them. I didn't feel like going downstairs to clean my other glasses. Sorry. See you next week on the Family First Entrepreneur Podcast.